an electronic device, you place it on silence, and of course continue to touch your reading. Don't stop in our account. But we do want to go ahead and get started. We're with the next item on the agenda, item number 3, is the oath of office, and we do have Mr. Brad Hunt, City Manager, Interim City Gatesville, will be swearing in, and I'm going to turn that over to Jim.
And before we swear in Mr. Hunt, we'll stand and go and put the prayer in the Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, for these people who come together to give of themselves to do the work of this region, a region that we're so blessed to live in, and that we are covered in your blessings every day. We thank you for the rains. We thank you for the public servants that serve this region, protect us in this region, and protect us in the nation and abroad, so that we can have meetings like this and the freedom to speak our minds and represent their constituencies. We ask you a special blessing on the hands that prepared the food that nourished us today, and we ask all of these things in your Son's name. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. If you please be seated, except for Mr. Hunt. I will tell you that our Losoya school board meeting last month, we had a student lead the pledges. And he said, please join me in the pledge to the American flag. And when we got done, he said, now the other one. Oh. We have with us Brad Hunt from City of Gatesville. We'd like to welcome him. We're going to issue his oath of office and then ask him to say a few things about himself. So if you please raise your right hand. And after I say aye, please state your name, and at the end, you can affirm or swear whatever your preference. Aye.
All right, Brad Hunt.
You solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of my office and that of the Executive Committee of the Central Texas Council of Governments, and will, to the best of my ability, defend the individual integrity of local governments of this association. And I furthermore promise to promote the general cooperation between member governments in the region in the interest of the citizens of Central Texas, so help me God.
I swear and affirm.
Welcome. Thank you. Dr. Sal.
Well, so some of you in this room I've known for a long time. Been in law enforcement since 1995. I was in Temple for 25 years. I actually retired on my 25th anniversary to go be a chief up in Keene near Cleburne. Stayed up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for about 2.5 years, and when the Gatesville chief position came open last February of 23, it was just a no-brainer to come back to Central Texas. I've got a daughter at UMHB right now. I've got a son and a grandson living in Temple. I've got another son that's a co-firefighter, and we were farther away up there. And what I knew about Gatesville at the time was true. I found that to be true in the time I've been there, that it's a very close-knit community. It's not, hectic, I guess is a good word for Temple and some of the other towns I was very familiar with. It's nice to live in Coryell County and visit Bell County, not sit through all the traffic in Bell County every day. And of course, 25 years of history in Temple. I mean, every street corner has a memory. Every street corner is not always a great memory. And, it was a good time to retire and do new things. So then, spent a year and a little bit of time as chief, and this May, when we needed to transition on city management, it was about a 5.5-hour council meeting. They called me in at about 10:30 at night and said, hey, would you want to be the interim city manager? I said, yes, I would. Went home and said, what did I just agree to? So it was easy to say yes because of who the mayor is. Gary, I appreciate you and the council. What I knew about the staff management, and a lot of that came from prepping for the eclipse. I got a very accelerated timeline on learning everything about the region, meeting people like Judge Miller and everyone in the county. That it would have taken years, it took months. And so I feel like I had a good head start, and I'm enjoying being the interim city manager. It's an honor to be here, so thank you all.
The next item on our agenda is, is opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone here personally that would like to address the committee this afternoon? Seeing and hearing none, is there anyone online who is requested to address the council?
There's several members online, but no one has requested to address the council.
Okay, very good.
And Judge, before we move forward, I'd like to recognize the young ladies from the planning department who are helping us run this meeting. They picked up Jeannie, my administrative assistant, is no longer with the college, and that happened right in the middle of our preparing for this meeting. And so they are pinch hitting and picking up the presentation from where it was left. And you'll be happy to know that one of the things Jeannie was working on before she left was procurement of new chairs for this room. And so hopefully when we meet next, that procurement will be complete. We'll pick that up where she left off. We're having a little bit of audio visual, so we're going to manually go forward.
And Jim, I'd like to recognize two visitors with me today, two guests. Our interim sheriff, Anthony Poole, we appointed him last November of 23. The previous sheriff done a tremendous job for Mills County. Our new elected sheriff, James Jones, was with DPS for 27 years. Yes, sir. And he'll be our new Mills County sheriff effective January the 1st. So we're on over here for the first meetings to see what goes on over here.
Outstanding. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Note there are two items there. The minutes from the April 2024 committee meeting, as well as the expenditure report for May of 2024. You may consider those both as one motion, or if you choose, you could have any one of those discussed individually.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
And a second. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Any abstentions? Ayes have, the motion carries. And with the committee's consent, items 7, 8, and 9, which are all action items, are all resolutions. And so what I'd like to ask Jim to do is just run through all three of those. And again, we'll almost consider that as a consent action as well, unless any of those need to be discussed individually.
Yes, the first item of resolution is a resolution approving the Central Texas Council Government's Title VI plan. Judge Miller has asked me to read into the record all 46 pages. And so there is a copy available. This is a review of the Title VI plan. We would recommend your approval. There have been some minor updates and changes on that. The second resolution is a resolution approving amendments to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee bylaws. Those consisted mostly of adding a representative from Fort Cavazos, increasing the number of citizen solid waste and private industry representatives to 2, and increasing the quorum requirements from 33% to 50% plus 1. And then the rest of that, as well as the next one for the Regional Transportation Advisory Group bylaws, were minor changes to come into compliance with the new change to the Open Meetings Act. We would recommend that you consider all three resolutions for approval, and I have staff available to answer any direct questions you might have.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim or the staff concerning any of the three resolutions that he's covered? Yeah.
I move to approve action items 7, 8, and 9.
We have a motion to approve the three action items for those resolutions. Okay. And a second. Any further discussion on items 7, 8, and 9? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Any abstentions? Do we have none? Okay. All right. I have that motion carries. Thank you. Next item, go to reports, and I'm going to turn this over to Jim.
Yes, a couple of months ago, I had the opportunity to meet with our guest speaker. Some of you have done work with him in the past, and I was moved by what he had to say and thought that there would be great value on the subject of technology and cybersecurity. I know that one of our one of our counties has been held ransom cyberly. And I do know that the one council of governments in the state actually was hacked and lost $500,000. And so the idea of challenges in that space is very real for all of us. Some of our members are more robust in that area than others. And so today we have with us an expert from Centex Technologies that's based out of Killeen. And I'd like you to help me in welcoming for some great words, Mr. Abdul.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you inviting me, and thank you, everybody, for having me here today. And I can see some familiar faces here today, so thank you for everybody. I thought it would be a good idea to have a little bit of my background, so you would have some perspective on that. My daytime job, as Jim mentioned, I'm the president and CEO of an IT consulting company that I founded about 18 years, 6 months, and 24 days ago. So it's been a good run. My couple of jobs that I do for United States government is I'm the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army for Capital Region for Austin, Texas. That I help Secretary of the Army with the technology modernization challenges, as you can imagine, in the last 5 years that I've been involved in that position. The second one, I'm the chair of innovation for United States Military Academy. So I work very closely with the superintendent of West Point and help him make some of the technology decisions in there as well. So a lot of fun things that I learned about United States Military Academy in the last 2.5 years. Happy to give you some thoughts on that, what I was able to change there. Thought it would be a good idea to just to give a little bit more and not just be a salesperson. I hate PowerPoint presentations, so that's why I didn't bring it. I thought it would be a good idea to have, being in the Army, I know we use PowerPoints a lot more than we need to. So I thought it would be a good idea that we should have some conversations and discussion about things instead of just me speaking for 20 minutes and after that, everybody goes their way and we don't remember any of those comments. So, as you can imagine, as been doing as a certified ethical hacker, certified fraud examiner, and several other cyber-related certifications that I have, I work very closely with 3-letter agencies. I was at Langley about 4 months ago, speaking to all the agents of their cyber. So it's one of those things I'm sure you guys have seen last week as well. One of the CrowdStrike, a company which provides cybersecurity services to big organizations like Delta, and I'm feeling bad for people who are on Delta or any of those airlines who utilized that last week. So as you can imagine, those kind of things are happening more and more often. And how we are protecting us is one of the questions that everybody asks. So last year, 42% of small businesses had cybersecurity some kind of breach, which was about 5% more than the previous year. And if you go through the same thing, the malware attacks going to the United States, government agencies, they do not really go by the local and counties and so forth. But overall, over 30,000 agencies got hacked in some way or fashion all over the United States. So with those staggering numbers, the question comes in mind, like what exactly are we making this priority on a day-to-day basis in our organizations, institutions, and so forth. So I work very closely with universities, community colleges, and of course, small to medium-sized businesses. Every one of them have different kind of needs. A plumbing company in a small town has different needs with 5 computers, 3 computers, and an organization in Austin, Texas, which provides different kind of services. Over 200 employees have different needs. So we as consultants, our job is to figure out what will be the threats for it. So if I am you, and going back to your organization, talking to your IT people, I think will be the 3 questions I will ask. Number 1 will be, what is it our infrastructure looks like? So when I say infrastructure, that does not mean how our cabling got run, but that means our routers and switches and firewalls, who's managing some things for you. So that will be the first question. Number 2, the question will be, what can and who is doing any kind of updates on our software systems? I think that is a major thing which people forget sometimes. We also, as user, get annoyed by those Windows updates and security updates, and we say, oh, we'll just do it next week. But those are the things which are protecting us also as compared to anything else. So that will be the second item. And the third item will be like, what software applications, audits, assessments are we utilizing on a day-to-day basis to protect us? That can be anti-malware, antiviruses, it can be, CrowdStrike kind of company managing stuff, whatever, and understanding that threat as well. What I realized after working for school districts, local municipalities, and others, that we trust too much about our vendors. I can be an IT company as well. I think looking into those contracts and subcontractors and reading those fine prints, exactly how they are, protecting them. So our company also manages and have vendors for technology services too. The first question I ask always is, who's backing up your data? Who's managing your infrastructure? Because those are the things can be happening to any company. I'm sure you have heard Dell got hacked last year. Cisco, Sun Microsystems, I just received a letter from AT&T that they had a breach. Hear me out on this. They had a breach in 2021, and they're contacting me in 2024 that they find out that there was a breach. Okay? And then they're mentioning that between May till June of that year, they have access to my text messages or my phone calls, those kind of things. So now think about it. If a major organization like AT&T, it's taking them 2 years to contact me, how a smaller organization can really protect them, right? So our office, our headquarters is in downtown Killeen. You would think, who will be really trying to get into our systems? Just support me, my director of operations, computer, or email gets literally pinged over 400 times in just one day. So that does not mean because she works for Centex Technology that she works at. It's not. It's robots who are basically keep pinging the organizations. They look at the locations, which is in Central Texas overall, and it's just trying. They all are coming from Philippines, Russia, Singapore. That was a big new one for me, and of course China. And to be honest with you, majority of them we do not, as law enforcement people that I work with, CIA and FBI, we do not even know majority of them because they are utilizing our VPN tunnels and so forth that they have created. Majority of the time, that happened in the local school district here. Somebody was logging in from China to that network or their network, and then they were infiltrating with other organizations' networks. So in this way, it looks like it is from US, but it's really not from US. And it took them almost 2 years plus to find out that was happening. So I think hard questions, if I'm you, if I'm the executive of that organization, finding that person who is doing your services will be a very good question. And giving them continuing education. I always see very fascinating when I go and talk to leadership of people from superintendents, chancellors, and presidents of organizations or institutions, and I ask them, what is the biggest threat that you can think of that you think will be very hard for you to overcome? Majority of the time, believe it or not, they will be answering is my finance department, my accounting department. And I ask the second question, how are they utilizing the accounting or finance? If I turn off their computer, will they be even able to tell you how much money you have in your account? Answer is no. Your phone systems, your emails, any of those kind of things are now so much connected from IT tools and everything is software based now and so forth. But if we are not even utilizing the basics of those things, how you will be able to identify what is going on. And I think that's the intellectual knowledge, the continuing education knowledge that we need to make sure technology people have. And the other thing is fascinating that we always say somebody who's been in quote-unquote technology business for 20 plus years, but they have not done any new certifications, new education in these things. As I jokingly tell all the time, that if nothing else, Apple will come up with one new phone every year. So that would be a change order, right? Or Amazon will come up with a new way of shipping things to you. And as all those things are happening now, cyber threat will be going more and more into it. Our ring devices, our systems which are in our homes right now, you're making sure our thermostat can be turned on and turned off through an app. We have put all these devices on there that we are not thinking about it, who might also have access to it. So longer conversation, and I don't want to take too much of the time. I thought it will be that if you have any questions, that I will happy to answer for you. And if not, then I might have some questions for you, and then you'll get some giveaways from our company. So it better be good that you ask me questions, so I don't have to ask you to ask me questions.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
The insurance carriers, or our insurance carrier, but I think it's happening in multiple areas, not just county government.
Yes.
Have started taking cyber security or cyber threat coverage out of your general policy.
Yes.
And it's now a separate rider policy.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we're having a little challenge with, or that I am, is assessing the value of that coverage.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on whether or not that coverage? I mean, there's a whole list of things that are covered, like ransom or data recovery, or there's a list there. But the dollar amounts are
Does not match it.
kind of low, it seems like, for what you pay. But I'm just curious to hear your thoughts.
Very good question, actually, sir. So I'll go back a little bit of background. About 7 years ago, when they actually started, there were literally a couple of questions they were asked. Where the company is located at? If it's in a smaller town, less risk. Downtown San Francisco, of course, you have a higher risk. The second question was how many employees you have. We'll say 20. So of course they will put you a low risk, and they'll be able to come up with a number. It's an arbitrary number that they will come up, software will come up with, and then you will pay more. That was what's going on for the last 7 years. But in the last 3 years, when the insurance company had to start paying, they're like, oh, well, you need to ask questions. We didn't even have a firewall. They even have a router and switches and those kind of things, right? So then everybody will start asking questions. And then you can imagine from a small business point of view, if it's a retail shop with 20 employees, they don't know what things we need to put on there in order to even be secure, right? So then they will have people like us or others to go and talk to them and so forth. So the numbers are, going really, really high, but that's where it goes back to the technology people your organization should just have those big thing that they are looking at is multi-factor authentication. Big thing they're looking at is to make sure that they have routers and switches and firewalls logs somebody's looking at. That's where the network operations center, security operations centers nowadays are actually going and looking at those kind of things for you. So I think that would be a conversation with a technology person to make sure that you have those check marks. I have seen about 25 to 30% cost going down if you have those implemented. Going back to your cost, actually, Texas Insurance Association, and title of it, they're going through actually a policy right now with those three. There's only three big vendors for cyber insurance. There's not that many companies out there who are AAA rated or whatever those things called. So we are having those conversations right now. As one of the speakers having those conversations with those insurance companies, executives as well. I think it's going to change because they are seeing they're losing business as well. Because people are just not taking it. I know in our organization, they says, I'm not going to take that money, but what I will do is I'll put X amount of money on the side if I have to do the hackers. Doesn't make sense either, right? I mean, so we are thinking about that, we're going to put it in there. And by the way, it's a local organization, and it's on, it's public record now. I mean, so we don't need to do those things as well. So I think having conversation with all three of the big insurance carriers will be good. Right now, the other thing is that the middle people are also involved. Third party insurance company, brokers, and there's some margins there and so forth. So it starts to add up very quickly. I think figuring out what you are trying to protect is the biggest thing. Is the malware is your problem more, or the wiring of the bank accounts and those kind of things is that? So what is the risk? I think creating that risk factor on each of those things. Yes, sir.
With cyber, we term cybersecurity as trying to protect ourselves from either foreign or domestic attacks on our infrastructures. Within our realm here, I kind of look at public safety and security of our public utilities, our water, our power grid. Those things, if they're attacked, it's really a form of terrorism. So is the agencies that you're working with, are they looking at this as a form of domestic or foreign once identified terrorism?
Yes, sir. That organization got created about in the Trump administration, if I'm not mistaken, and the Army was a representative from Army, there was a representative from Armed Forces. That we had a meeting last year in DC about this specific conversation about who is actually responsible. Let's start from there. Because everybody has pointing fingers on it, because Army has some people in one of these places, Navy has a couple of people. You go back and it's like, oh, well, that was in 1974. We said, hey, Navy will support people there. So they've since 74, they've had 2 people there since then. So come to find out, we needed to have that conversation because they did not know anything like who will be responsible for it. So DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is responsible for it in the end. And they have this cyber infrastructure security agency now, CISA, that they call, and they are working very closely with them to do that. So the director of it, she's a West Pointer, a good friend. And she has made a lot of changes last couple of years to make that happen where at least there's a line on the org chart to see, hey, if something happens, who's going to be responsible for it? And those 2 Army guys or those 2 BI guys are responsible to letting that one organization. So that just got implemented, I would say, 6 months.
Abdul, I want to say thank you for supporting our region as well as you have. I've been to a number of conferences where you've spoken, where you've been involved. So thank you, especially from an economic development standpoint. The 3 things you said that you asked are all infrastructure and software related. What about the human aspect what do you do through that? What's that risk?
So absolutely, the software side actually brings the human factor of it because people are using the software side of it. So for example, if the training aspect that I'm saying, it's not just for the IT guy, but also the employees and the users who are using it. I tell my employees all the time, it's not, somebody gonna try to hack from China to, downtown Korea, a local IT company, but what they will do is send some kind of email or phishing attempt and so forth for you to click on some link or open an attachment. So absolutely, the human factor, I would say, sir, it's half of it. But the idea has to be that once they click on it, that you have some things in place which will stop it, right? Or which will at least ask a second question about, hey, do you really want to click on this? Do you really want to go there? Or give you a red, alert and say, hey, this is malware. You should not do this. So I think absolutely agree with you. I personally think, as you are as a group, or there might be some conferences and seminars that you should bring Dell and Cisco and Microsoft people to come and speak. And by the way, a lot of people do not know, all these organizations will do it for free, especially for government organizations. They don't charge it, right? So it's a government organization, they're already buying Dell computers and Microsoft licenses and all those kind of things. So it's not an extra cost for you. It's just creating that thing that, and I do not want this to be like, oh, every 6 months we'll do it, we'll check mark, it's an online thing, and everybody was watching some video on another screen, we just went through it. It needs to be something, somebody sitting there, a real effort of doing it. I mean, local organizations, without naming it with them here, had wire transfers done because it was a phishing attempt. A couple of $100,000 we're talking, talking small amounts. So it's happening, and people are somewhat scared and somewhat, embarrassed to even tell. So I get to find out through FBI or some other organizations that this happened, or it happened in development and so forth. So I think it will be one of those things that we personally, as leaders of this organization and leaders of this community, need to seriously think about this. Just like we seriously think about any other law enforcement stuff, right? We need to think about this, how we should prevent this, because it's not about if, it's about when it's going to happen. I mean, we are not Dells and AT&T's of the world. If that is happening to them, and this thing of, hey, you're too small or too medium size, nobody gonna do it. That's not because of the data. Anybody else? All right.
I have one quick question.
Yes.
You answered some of it. So if a municipality wanted to hire a company to come out to do a risk assessment, I heard you say that you would start with the IT perspective and then the human perspective. So can you give us like kind of a timeline, what would happen? Call you, sign a contract, now what happens?
It all depends on what kind of assessment you're doing. If it's a cyber, so there is, CISOs, certified information security officers, who gets deployed and talks to you guys and do an audit to find out from people first, how they have first the technology people and then users of departments that they want us to assess. Depending on how big the assessment is, depends on that. But I think it will be a lot more conversation. What you are looking for before we even get into the contract stage. But we do it a little bit different than a regular company because we try to find out what your needs are. If it's the right need to do it. For example, if you are using Microsoft products and you're using Cisco products, my first question will be, have they done any assessment, right? And instead of paying an additional company to do all these other additional things for you, let's find out, are your staff already has that much knowledge of doing that themselves, or are they using Cisco products? So if they're using Cisco products, have they contacted them to ask the engineers and so forth? So depending on what it is, I think conversation has to start from the leadership of the technology department or the leadership of that organization. What is keeping them up at night and finding out those things first. so we have a couple of things to do away. So, question: who can tell what does a firewall do? One very easy question. Yes, sir.
Limits traffic in and out.
Or what? Tell me a little bit more about limits the traffic of what kind of traffic? Of the internet. Okay. So you can block sites. You can block the sites of it. Is that the question? Okay. And how can you make sure that if you block the sites of those, how you will be able to make sure that some of the people are still able to go to those sites? Because I always hear, I'm sure you hear it too, I'm not able to go to it because my IT guy has blocked it. So what happens then, sir?
Call IT and ask for access.
Exactly. So you call the IT and ask for access. But
They say no.
they say no. Well, that's a good thing. If they're saying no, there's at least a 50% of protection there. But no, absolutely, I totally agree. So firewall is one of those things that I want every kid, every adult to know and understand what it does. Because if you do not even know that aspect of it, because nowadays firewalls and routers, firewalls and switches, depending on how expensive you're going to have and so forth. And I think if we will create this culture in the office, then that culture will go into their homes too. So we're doing a really actually a justice to these people. When they go home, they will know what exactly they need to have for their kids, for their grandkids, to know what they're tracking and what they're not able to track. So I have a kind of funny story. My nephews and nieces came from Canada to stay with me for a couple of days. And I got up in the middle of the night and my firewall just went crazy. And sure enough, 3 of them were downloading videos and uploading this, and it was just crazy. And so I learned that lesson, and I saw all kinds of stuff, as you can imagine, from a 15-year-old to a 19-year-old, what they were doing online. So, but I think having that understanding, what it does, can really, really help. All right, second one, WWW, what does it stand for? All right, so as there's too many people, so what I will do is we have a lot of books here that I wrote. We'll make sure that one of you guys can, when you leave, you just need to grab one and take it. So I've written 3 books. I think we brought a couple of them to the security ones, 2 of them to security. So you're welcome to pick those up. All right, so now tell me which will be a company which has created a partnership between a hardware and a software company together. That was a big merger happened about 10 years ago or so. It's not that far away from here. I need those 2 companies' names. That was one. What's the other one? They merged with another company. It was a software company and
Microsoft.
good guess.
Martin?
VMware. So VMware and Dell created a partnership together and made that as a software hardware product. Recently, Broadcom bought VMware from Dell. $35 billion acquisition that they recently did, and majority of the money basically came from Rock, Texas. So we're pretty invested now. So I think Jim gets that. He's and lucky, not lucky. All right, any other questions? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you asking me to come.
Moving on to reports, area agency on aging, George.
Good afternoon, it's good to see everyone again, and just wanted to kind of give you all some quick updates of what's been going on the aging side. We did have a request for a survey to help our ombudsman program. to capture, how we're facilitating that program. I know Jim has discussed with our board members all the different issues related to our budgeting program. We go out and do advocacy for our nursing homes and assisted living. But one of the things, as we all know, that it's not fully funded and money has to come out of it through our Title III funding. And so the budgeting program is looking at ways to kind of approach our legislature on identifying the need and financial support of that. So that was something that we worked on. Jim, I don't know if you have any other comments about that initiative.
I'm very shy and reserved. I don't normally speak my mind, but I will tell you that it's interesting that we're in the fastest growing state in the union, and people are growing older at a rate faster than they ever have, and they're staying alive longer, but we're cutting funding for elder care. And so something in that equation doesn't add up, and that's what the survey hopes to address.
Thank you. That's very succinctly said. The other thing I had, sometimes, in our profession, we don't have time to sit and look at the impact that we're having. And we partnered with Mtg, School of Occupational Therapy, to do what's called memory cafes. And this is to work with individuals with dementia and Alzheimer's. And one of the simple things that we did, and I don't know if any of you were here during we had some great music, Elvis and Beatles playing here. We did for them to kind of listen to music and to introduce them to arts and movement. And just a simple reaction that you got, for me to just sit back and enjoy was a unique experience for me. But I'm really appreciative of UMHP's attempt to really work with the community to help us to better serve our community. And so a lot of us who are partners that are serving the elderly are looking towards their support, because we have a lot of great students that want to learn and be a part of our organizations. And so it was a great opportunity for them to interact and for us to sit back and enjoy the work. So we had over the 3 sessions, we served over 60 individuals came to our classes. So that was a great opportunity for us to work with MHP. And as Jim mentioned on the next slide, is that I am going to be the first keynote speaker for our Central Texas Gerontological Society. And it's really for us as those who work in the industry to supporting our elderly and disabled populations to kind of give them a perspective of what's happening. And for me, one of the big things I've been a part of this is this big senior learn about the silver tsunami. But for me, a tsunami is talking about the eruption and how COVID has impacted our world and how we're having to work differently. So I'll be addressing that on a professional situation, not on a client situation. But as we know, working with clients and changes, I was at the town hall meeting for seniors. Things are changing dramatically. The needs are changing. And as Jim said, the funding is not going to be there after ARP and money goes away. So there's going to be some challenges we're going to be facing in 2025 and 2026. So, and I also want to congratulate our new Civil Care Legislature. We just had Felicia Holland. She comes from us. She works at Habitat for Humanity. She had moved here recently, and she got involved in a lot of our coalitions, and she heard about the Civil Care Legislature, said, hey, I want to be a part of it. So we still have a lot of vacancies for that. It's very impactful. I will tell you that over the last 3 years, they've helped move some legislation on funding initiatives related to children and families with children with disabilities to help get some additional funding from the state. So if you know of anybody that's over 60 that would love to be a part of this, let me know, and it's just an issue of them applying, and I can pay for it and get them in the role. The other great thing, and I just want to thank our partnership with K-Tempo, Urian. We went after a TDC grant, and we were awarded $300,000. It says $200,000, but $200,000 of that is for direct services for our veterans. And we filled out an ILA with a hop to help us provide a lot of the transportation needs through the microtransit. And and through their new software. We are on the launch stage of it right now. We are looking at enrolling eligibility for our veterans for this program. And we've had some delays on the HOP system, on the microtransit, but I'll be looking for some other providers temporarily just to see how we help some veterans right now. But I reached out to the VA, and we're going to have access to enrollment period. And then once the HOP and everything's ready, they'll have access to unlimited rides to services, which is door to door. That is a game changer for getting access, not only to our medical appointments, but for groceries, for other needs that they need. So we're going to do it online. We have a webpage where we'll be able to sign up and upload documents to us. And of course, we'll be making sure that our cybersecurity is working correctly on a lot of documentation that we'll be getting. And so, but you'll be hearing more information from us. And I think we're going to have some sort of announcement to the community soon from TBC. They'll be here to do a check presentation for us. So hopefully at our next board meeting, we'll have some TBC presenting us that check. And that's all the information. Then the other thing I just wanted to make sure is that I'll be in a lot of your communities talking about our senior events. I'll be next month. I'll be in Coryell County, Gatesville Senior Expo. Then I'll be Bell County Senior Expo, and we're working on Milan Senior Expo, which will be I think October 29th. So we have to do the outreach so people know what we're doing and help them to know what's going on. That's it. That was the last item, all the different dates that we had. But any questions concerning aging services? Thank you so much.
Next, you got the housing with Carmen.
So just a quick update. So we are wrapping up the transfer from client complaining housing authority to CTRTAG. We pretty much cleaned up the project-based housing, which those families are dedicated to those specific units in downtown Clean. We're working on wrapping up the housing shelters as well. We've added a new section on there. We've had to cancel a few families. Families are being canceled for failure to submit documents to us so that we can determine eligibility. We met with HUD and we came up with that 6/1 deadline. So we are seeing an uptick on some of those cancellations for those families.
Is that due to the fact that you're not giving them to you?
Correct. Correct. No, they're not providing. So a lot of it is they're required to provide the agent application.
Security.
Yeah, so a lot of times it's, we receive a bank statement, they're required to disclose all of them, and then we find another account, and then maybe we find income because maybe now they're working, that type of stuff. That delayed a lot of the processes trying to get everybody completed, but for the most part, they're not submitting what we're asking for.
And if I could, we're also having a cultural shift because a lot of clients from KHA have made the comment, well, I was never asked to do this before. And now we're bringing them into compliance, and there's just a population of people that are very reluctant to comply. And our hands are tied at some point. So what is it, about 25 families total who've been terminated?
25 for housing choice and 7 right now for project base. I'm not going to project. I also wanted to make this a little bit relevant for you all to see what we are doing as far as county-wide. We have the majority of our clients in Bell County, and we're spending about $1.7 million in Bell County. Milan County, 2,100, Lancaster, 5. We have no clients in San Saba, Mills, and Hamilton County. But we're looking to change that as we start pulling families off the waiting list. We are going to be working more with them in engagement. Because of the transfer, we have a lot of members that are not willing to work with us, or maybe having their clients move from Clean Housing Authority to us, and they're just not willing to renew with us. So we are trying to repair that relationship with those landlords. We are also working on some resource development. There are funding agencies that maybe have assistance for utilities, stuff like that, when someone's lost their job and now they can't pay those utilities. So we're working on reaching out to local agencies and other folks to try to see what we can kind of scrounge up as far as maybe there's an entity out there that has funding available for utilities, or maybe a family needs to move. They don't have that deposit money. We're working, we're trying to gather more resources. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add to that 211 is a great resource.
Yes,
All those resources are listed there.
Yeah. And then also community outreach, just, putting out that information out there just so that folks are aware of what the program is, what we do, and how the program works.
And along that, also resource development, we are going to be facing, and Mayor, this is going to impact Killeen pretty heavily. We're going to face, when Killeen Housing Authority wraps up its books and ceases to exist as an entity or changes its identity beyond what it is today, they're holding the master utility account for every one of their clients because none of them could qualify to have an electric account. And so KHA is individually reading those meters and then billing those clients. When KHA ceases to have that capacity anymore, or cannot hold that master contract anymore, all of those families' utilities are going to be shut off because they're not going to have the ability to pay the deposit or the credit to get that utility. So we're going to have to actively work with KHA over the next several months as they wind down to come up with a strategy for how you transition 450 families into individual utility accounts. And that's going to be a real big challenge.
But if they're selling their property, what they're supposed to be doing, to sell it all in debt, they should take some of that money, which, I'm not actively involved since we moved the client. So I would highly recommend you to tell them that they should pay for that transition because they will have the revenue once they sell that property.
They should.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make you aware that that could be an impact.
Mr. King already talked about that. We had to pay the light bill over there more than once. So we're not doing that anymore. So KHA made the problem and we need to fix it.
Great.
But thank you.
Any questions, comments?
Congratulations to you and your staff for taking this on without any additional resources and getting it done. Carmen doesn't like to talk about it too much, and our admin staff probably would rather that we didn't do it. But we have paid over $500,000 in arrears rents to Killeen landlords on behalf of KHA through our agreement with HUD. So that was a lot of work, and it needed to happen to make those landlords whole. And so I appreciate your staff.
The city of Killeen truly appreciate it.
Thank you. You couldn't have done it without everybody's support, so thank you.
Thank you.
Regional services, right.
Updates from Planning and Regional Services. Some of this you may have seen at our last meeting, but that was a couple months ago, so it's just refresher information. But the next Homeland Security Advisory Committee meeting will be August 13th in Bell County. It'll be held here at the HSAC in July voted to extend our contract with Code Red for 1 year. That's our regional mass notification alert program. If you are a community and you are not aware that this is available to you, please reach out and let me know. We do have some communities that I found that are actually have contracts standalone with Code Red or other providers, and we're trying to get them all looped in under our contract that we receive funding provided. Our hazard mitigation plan that covers 4 counties. A few counties aren't participating strictly because they're partnered with other counties that are close to them or they have additional funding that was made for them. But we have a 4-county mitigation plan that we're working to complete. We're about 75% there right now. The SERI grant that we discussed at the last meeting, We submitted applications for about $2 million. We did preliminarily get approved for 1.7 million in funding, so staff are working with those entities to get all the required documentation and quotes and everything for those purchases under that series program. Our peace officer training program, of course, we had 3 classes that we held in July, and we've got 2 classes here in August and 1 class in September. Our 911 program for June, we had 24,946 calls, 19,000 of which were Bell County Communications, consolidated call center, and most population. Our historic trend, as you can see, I provide 6 months of history. As you'll see later on in the slides, May 24th, there was about 6,000 more 911 calls. That is attributed to the storms, the tornadoes, and I've broken that down later on in the slides for everybody's reference. Our text to 911 program, we received 107 texts in June, with 89 of those being at Bell County. And then you'll notice the same trend. We had slightly more in May, strictly because of those storms. I've got a slide for each county in here. I don't know that I need to go through each one. If you're interested, I think we sent the slides out. If we didn't, I'm happy to send this information to you. But just to demonstrate, you know, as everybody can see, I've kind of got May 3rd there were storms, May 12th there were storms, the 22nd we had a tornado, and then the 3 days trailing that, just so everybody can kind of see a trend for where they're at. On the slide in front of you here, we'll see Gatesville. They traditionally have 25 calls a day. They bumped up to 213 on the day of the tornado. So this is pretty good information, just so we can see how that trend line works. Our 911 services, you know, we had a couple of hiccups. I'm sure many of you are aware we had issues at Bell County, we had issues at Gatesville, but ultimately the system works. There are still some things that need to be worked out probably in the end, but the system did work. I'm not aware of anybody that was not able to call 911 because of an issue on our end. That being said, you know, if T-Mobile went down and people weren't able to call 911, that's not anything that our 911 program can help or handle. That's just an infrastructure damage. That being said, if you'd like to see those slides, they're available. I'm happy to provide them in the follow-up. Our GIS program, we provided 610 addresses for the month of June. 509 of those were in Bell County. The planning folks are DECT staff. They've been managing the Leadership Central Texas program for 2024. Of course, we have 13 participants. 2 of those are staff. Our next DECT meeting will be October 3rd. If you're interested in attending, it'll be right here. And we are still sending out our weekly distribution of regional highlights and funding opportunities. If you're not receiving that and you'd like to be receiving it, please let me know. I know staff change, so if you haven't seen that, just let me know. I have a calendar of events on here. Then the next slide, our transportation folks at the Plain Temple NPO. We did do our 2023 call for projects for the Cape Temple region, which is a smaller population group. It doesn't cover all 7 counties. It covers Bell County, part of Coryell, and part of Mantasas. We received over 100 projects in that project call. 16 projects were actually selected for funding through FY 2028, totaling $91.7 million. We did just adopt the 2050 long-range metropolitan transportation plan yesterday at the policy board meeting. And then our upcoming meetings are August 7th and 21st here at the college buildings. If anybody's interested in attending, we'd be happy to have you at our meetings. And that is all I have, unless there are questions.
Any questions for your Ryan?
Thank you, Ron. Then you got Workforce Development Board, Ms. Susan Cox.
Workforce reauthorization, as I referred to our workforce work earlier, the software is still being made. And understand that when they come back from August recess, the Senate will get to work on coalescing around their portion of the bill that goes to conference committee. And hats off to Keith Sled, who runs tracks for us most days. So thank you, sir. We've been doing some fun things. Most of you might have known Jose Cigar, our board chair. And this month we went to Boston. We received the American Legion Texas chapter service award for employment for the local office. So there were 7 awards given, and we were one of them. We were very proud of that. It's a very impressive award. We received the award because of our work before the process in our last grant. That was about $7.2 million of the individual soldiers that went to work. They returned $46 million back to the economy. We've had a department-wide grant for 20 years, and we've done wonderful things. So not only did we win the state award, but we are going next month to Louisiana for the national award. So. But then also a couple of weeks ago, we had an opportunity to have an engagement with Colonel Palladino, who is the Executive Director Commissioner for Texas Veterans Commission, and they do a scratch-off lotto ticket for veterans. And the current pool is $41 million. And the request for proposals will come out in October. And he actually was the one that presented us the actual award. So we had a conversation with him, and I said, I'll come with my hat in my hand, we're begging for money because we need to continue that program. He said, Susan, I know the program, it's a very good program, and you have my backing, you have my support. So we'll see how much of the fortune we get. But we'll take 2, we'll take anything. Also, in the state Texas Workforce Commission, the commissioners knew that we were in the funding lapse, and so they were doing a $3 million statewide, and there are 12 of us that potentially would qualify to apply for the job, for the money. Not all of them will get the biggest part, but it's like, we'll get 500, we'll spend 500, and get 500 more. So we have plans. And let me see. We have 2 big things going on in the state. One is the conversion of the child care system that tracks the parents when they drop off their children. So that is not going well. So, and the second one is the conversion of our tracking system for all of our programs and services. And that one too is not going very well. So we're having trouble with the data. And by the way, Centex technology has been one of our contractors for a long time and do an excellent job. And I will end there, if you have questions, by complimenting the mayor in person. She was a U.S. Conference of Mayors. She was a workforce panel on innovations in Killeen for entrepreneurs and did a fabulous job and held her on to those men.
And workforce centers, Lewis.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. So the first article you'll see our unemployment rates have ticked up for the whole area to a little over 5%. There's 2 main reasons for that. One is that back in June there was a cyber attack, and I'm not calling anymore. There was a cyber attack regarding software maker CDK Global, and they do distribution systems of operations for auto dealerships and for the companies that provide the dealerships. And so several auto dealerships had to shut down until that was resolved and that software was replaced. And so as a result, there was some temporary unemployment claims for all those workers, not only those that work in the auto dealerships, but also those who work on the supplier side. So that was the first reason. The other reason has to do with a planned layoff every year in Lampasas at Ajinomoto, which is a specialty frozen food company. And every July, or a couple of weeks around July 4th, they do sanitation of their plant in Lampasas. And that affects 4 of our counties in terms of temporary layoffs. And so for Bell County, Lampasas, Coryell, and San Sapa, those numbers go up, and that sort of explains that. So if you take those 2 temporary situations that will resolve themselves in short order, we're closer to the 4% that the state is at. You'll see on the next slide there how many people we serve. Go one more, Jim. There we go. That's the UI claims. Again, you'll see the blip in yellow there that shows the anomaly that will return, we believe, in the future. In the next slide, and one more. Let's go to another one. So here you'll see that during the month of June, we provided 23,328 services to job seekers, employers, and students in June, serving almost 8,800 people. Again, amazing numbers for the month of June. On August the 13th, and I don't think we have a slide for this, but I have it distributed some of these to you. August 13th, we're going to have our summer surge hiring event at the Cadence Bank Center from 10 to 2. We have room for 70 employers. As of yesterday, we have 52 employers registered. We expect 65 or 65 to 70 employers to be there, and hundreds of job seekers will show up. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to me after the meeting or contact us. The other thing, and I don't have a slide on this, but I wanted to brag about our SEAL program, which is the Summer Earn and Learn program. That is a program that we operate during the summer for students high school students with disabilities. That program will wrap up tomorrow. And this year we enrolled 78 students in the program at the beginning, and tomorrow 72 students are going to complete. So in this program, typically statewide, you can see an attrition rate of about 25% of the students who drop out. Our attrition rate is only 7.7%, which is the best in the state, and a tribute to the job training that our staff provide those students with disabilities and the job placements. So through tomorrow, the total pay to those students is $134,000 that they earn, providing 9,568 hours of work for our employers. So we're very excited about that. We have a planned graduation for them on August the 2nd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., which will be held at Spare Time in Texas again this year. Spare Time has been an employer who has supported this program since 2018. Each year they take about 5 or 6 placements, and every year they end up hiring a couple of the students permanently for their job. And so we're very excited about that. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for us? Lewis, thank you, appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, Henry.
A very short report today. First of all, thank you to everyone who reached out to check on me. I used to think that a gun was the most dangerous thing you could have in your house, but now they tell me that you should keep a gun in the house in case anyone ever tries to bring over a ladder. So, be very careful. The other item I saw, I did a presentation to the Clean Lions Club, and someone gave me a list of the 5 most dangerous things that you can operate: a ladder, a nail gun, a table saw, a circular saw, and a chainsaw. And I was 5 for 5 that day, folks. So didn't do it well, but I did try to go for the whole trifecta. But I'm healing well, and thank you, staff, for holding the reins while I was doing other things. The only item I have on the agenda is just to let you know that next month we're going to be talking about your favorite topic in my 911 districts. Every 2 years, the board has challenged me to make sure that there's a reason for us to stay in the state system or to get out. And every year we have managed to convince ourselves that there was enough money in the state system to stay. But games are afoot in Austin, and I don't want to lead the punchline, but you're going to be probably seeing a recommendation that now is the time for us to leave. And that's going to set into motion all sorts of discussions about governance and what you can use the money for and how much we can expect from the state and what our exit strategy should be from the state. We've had a very preliminary conversation with the CSEC director, and he has made some promises of paying us some general revenue to help in our transition. I don't have that in writing yet, so take that for what it's worth. But we hope to have some nuts and bolts for you next month. And if you have questions about that, please talk to Uriah or myself, and we can share with you how that would work. The good news is it costs no more money to the citizens, and we'll have a lot more money and a lot more flexibility if we manage it ourselves rather than be managed by the state. And we think this is the biennium for us to do that. And our target date right now is looking like August of next year, so about a year from now. That'll be after the legislative session and before the biennium ends. And so there are some very real reasons why you do it in that time period. But we'll bring all this to you in the form of a report next month. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions, but thank you for your support of the cause.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Hearing none, that concludes the business of the executive committee for today. We stand adjourned.